if we're serious about ending the hurt, we should stop hurting people. That's what I mean. I condemned the attack. It was a vile anti-Semitic attack. And I think it's important for us to be asking the big picture question about what's happening now. You've got a Republican Party that is morally bankrupt, that is actively hurting people.
Well, you have progressive candidate Abdul El Sayed talking about an attack on a synagogue earlier this year and trying to persuade people that the hate in this country is being propagated by the Republicans. Let's bring in Daily Wire host of the Michael Knowles Show, Michael Knowles. Michael, great to have you back on the show. So the guy who wants to take down the current system, just blow it all up, is saying the other side is really filled with hate.
Yes, of course, and he sought to reassure Jewish voters. He told them that he cares as much about their safety as he cares about the safety of his own daughters. Now, of course, this is a man who supports men and women's bathrooms and boys and girls sports, so I would not find that to be very reassuring if I were a Jewish voter. This guy is trying to run away from his own radicalism, but he can't do it. It's not persuasive to anybody. He won on that radical platform, and frankly, his victory isn't even all that astounding for the Democrat Party. Whether we're talking about him or any of the other socialist candidates who won, there's not very much difference between the socialists and the supposedly moderate establishment Democrats. They basically all agree with abolishing ICE. They agree with mass amnesty, transing the kids, abortion on demand. So I think the real story of the whole campaign is that the entire Democrat Party has just given itself over to radicalism and socialism.
Yeah, and what margin there was is narrowing day by day. Vice President J.D. Vance was on Laura Ingraham tonight, and he said the following. Michael, watch this.
The base of the Democratic Party just wants radicals. It wants these DSA types. It wants people who hate even the idea of private property ownership. But it also, I think, tells us that that particular set of ideas is very popular in places you wouldn't expect.
Michael, you hear people kind of, giving the analogy, oh, maybe the DSA is like the Tea Party was, right, back in the early part of this century. Do you think that might be the case? Is it on the verge of flaming out, or do you think it's on the verge of getting bigger?
No, I think it's going to get much bigger. I think it's effectively taken over the Democrat Party. And so I think the vice president's remarks are totally on point here, which is this is a grave danger for the country, and we need to stop it. But the way we're going to stop it is not by dismissing all of their concerns, like Principal Skinner in The Simpsons saying, well, the kids must just be wrong. We have to speak to some of the concerns that people have, especially young people who can't afford houses, who are struggling economically right now. And so I think my pal who you referenced earlier, Ben Shapiro, he very rightly says facts don't care about your feelings. That's totally true. But politics almost exclusively cares about your feelings. And so I think the vice president is wise to tell Republicans, hey, you have to speak to what people are feeling right here and channel it into a good direction. Otherwise, we're going to end up with socialists.
Yeah, I got to go, Michael, but this whole idea that do you think Republicans, do you think conservatives are making the point hard enough that these people literally want to change, upend the whole system? They want to open the prisons. They want to get rid of police. They want to get rid of ICE. They want to get rid of private insurance, meaning Medicare for everybody. Wait in line if you have to.
Yes, I think the GOP is messaging fairly well. They're at an historic disadvantage because it's a midterm following an election that we just won. So we should get blown out of the water. Luckily, the best thing Republicans have going for us right now is just how terrible and dangerous the Democrat Party seems.
Yeah, Michael Knowles, great to have you on the show as always. Thank you.